Movement influence enemies. Oh boy, you guys are gonna enjoy this world. This level teaches you about enemies that are influenced by your movement. This includes Ripman Fish, Porky Puffers, Pokies, and Charging Trucks. Or I like to call her Mrs. Puff. Generally, these enemies try to move towards you, so if you want to move them to the right, you must be on the right side of them and vice versa. Remember, not hold X on slow moving enemies. Note, their movement is strictly based on off your X position only, so it doesn't matter how high or below. What the hell is that fish doing, dude? Wait. Yeah, that's cool. I've actually never seen this before. Dude, he's in there. Okay, but anyways, so yeah, it doesn't matter how high and low you are. It's just gonna try to move towards you no matter what. Also, well, that fish he's broken. He's broken, we broke him. Okay, anyways, so yeah. So you can see I can make it go really slow, or I can make it go really fast. So this one really tests your left-rights. Nice hack. Wait, is he gonna get stuck again? Yeah, he's gone, boys. Look at him go. The slowdown, stay on the opposite side of me. A lot of it comes down to how good your left-rights are and staying on one side of me. Yeah, so it's kind of like a get good situation. Again, you wanna do high bounces whenever you can, so that way it makes it easier to line up. So if you ever do get that opportunity, definitely use the high bounce. Porky Puffers quite janky. Their speed changes greatly when the screen scrolls. Porky Puffers slowly descend when down in water. So yeah, look at it. The screen scrolls, look how fast it's going. So it basically moves with the screen. So if you want it to be consistent, you want to not scroll the screen when you're wanting to move it. You might have to do some left rights because it goes slightly slower, but the hitbox is also really janky, so if you die, just blame the hitbox. Pokies. Oh, I forgot to. Okay, I'm sorry. I forgot to make this room shorter. Pokies check to see which direction to move about every 2 seconds. This means that it's possible to be on the left side of the Poki as I move right. So you can see, right, it always moves toward me every 2 seconds. So 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. So it checks which direction you're on the Poki every 2 seconds. So you can use those 2 seconds, the in-between time, to adjust yourself to be on the proper side of this Poki. So yeah, I'm sorry. This was supposed to be shorter, but I forgot to make it. So you're kind of stuck with doing this level. Also, the magic number is 2. If you get 2, then you can just stop, yeah. Just stop. Yeah, sorry, I meant to make that shorter, so you have to deal with it. Clapping chucks can be manipulated vertically, as seen in Chuck 8, yeah. So if you want to land on it as high as possible, you basically do the same thing. Jump when his hands are up. You can just hold jump the entire time. Like that. Charging chucks are also one of 2 enemies that changes your speed when you bounce off, and then land left makes you bounce left and vice versa. They also break blocks, and they also follow you. See, look, if I bounce off it, it goes to 32. I actually don't know when chucks stop moving towards you. I think it's when you're a certain height above them. I actually don't know. Congratulations, you did it. Dude, we're here, boys. The disco shell. The multicultural shell. Adventure. Here we go, boys. This level teaches you about manipulating disco shells. Like in the previous level, disco shells move toward you. Disco shells are the other enemy that changes your speed when you bounce off of them. Disco shells and charging chucks. I have to fix this because charging chucks set it to 32, not 24, so I'm wrong. Disco shells and charging chucks set your speed to 24 or negative 24 depending on which side you land on. This is important to know when learning about disco shell. Ready? You can also manipulate how much the disco shell moves back and forth if you move at standstill different time. So most of the time the disco shell will move back and forth about 3 blocks. So you can see it's about 3 blocks. But you can also make it. It's about wide. This is probably the widest you can make it. So you can see this one's only about 2 blocks. You can actually make it perfectly still, but I don't really know how to set that up. But basically you can see that it'll have a different range. That's important for later. Alright, here's some text. The hardest part of disco shell riding is the initial mount. To set this up, jump as the disco shell moves to the left to get max distance away from it. This causes the disco shell to move towards you at its max speed, which makes its movement predictable and allows you to time the initial mount. Finally, hold it right before landing. So I'm pretty sure the disco shell's max speed is 20. Is it 24? 32. Oh. Holding left is important since if you land on the left side, you will not die and it gives you enough time to react and try again. Yeah, the disco shell's max speed is 32. Oops. Okay, so yeah, the hardest part is this initial mount right here. So yeah, I want to set this up in this instance. I usually jump when the shell is going towards me. It's like that, so it gives me time to adjust and land on the right side. Honestly, the biggest part about disco shell riding is you gotta commit. You just have to be confident in that you're gonna land on the right side and commit to it. And if you don't, then you just gotta have really good reflexes. See, last time I didn't. I thought I was gonna commit and I didn't. So that time I do commit. But you do want to, if you need to, do a left-right when you're doing the mount so that you can slow down enough to be on the right side. But this goes kind of similar to the predicting enemy movement, because once the disco shell reaches its max speed of 32, its movement is consistent. So you know where it's going to be and where you need to land. But in a situation like this, the disco shell's movement is not yet consistent because you can see it's always changing speed. But once it reaches its max speed like that, you can see the consistency in its movement and then you can adjust. Oops. So in that case, it reached its max speed pretty early, so giving more time to adjust. So the key is getting the disco shell to that phase so you can adjust and predict, and then it gives you time to land on the right side of the shell. And if necessary, do a left-right. We try to do it on the left side, actually. Oh god. Okay, wait, the left side's way harder, dude. Well, some people have trouble with it. The key to disco shell riding is you want to make sure you get on the right side of that first bounce, because if you miss once, it makes everything way harder. When you are riding a disco shell, your average speed is higher than the disco shells, which means you will eventually outrun it if you hold right the entire time, so you must slow down every now and then. So this is where the max running speed is important to know. Remember, your max running speed is 35 to 37, which averages out to about 36. And the disco shell's max speed is 32. So your average speed will be faster. So you're gonna outrun it. You can slow down by either quickly releasing Y while holding right. You can also do this method if you're not holding an item, or you can quickly release right while holding Y. Note, for either methods, you want to do them immediately after bouncing off the disco shell. Also, do not tap left to slow. I forgot a D, dude! To slow down, since it gives you a higher chance of landing on the left side of the disco shell. No, I forgot a D. Okay, so let me show you what happens if I just hold right the entire time. Okay, well, that didn't work. Okay, well, if you're on the right side, or if you're like near the middle when you start, you'll be fine. But if you're like more to the right, then you can slowly see that you're gonna fall, or you're gonna speed up, and then outrun it. So like, that's gonna work because I was way to the right. Maybe I should have made this hallway longer. Let me try to get an instance where I'm gonna outrun it. This might take a bit. So in that case, I only took one bounce before I outran it. So this doesn't really apply if you're more in the middle of it, but if you like notice that you're like way to the right, like this might work too. But what I prefer the letting go of Y method. The reason why I don't like the let go of right method is because remember your speed locks in the air. So if you actually let go of your speed when you're higher than the disco shell riding speed, because remember it just has to be above 32. And if you do that, then you're going to outrun the shell as well. But as opposed to the let go of Y method, you can see it goes down to the 2s. So that's why I prefer the let go of Y method, it's more consistent. But you can't do that if you're holding an item. So it's like every half a second maybe that I do it, slow down, just to be safe. Ideally you want to land on the right side after each bounce. If you miss and land on the left side, you want to manipulate the disco shell so it swings wide left, which allows you to do the same inputs for an initial mount and continue from there. So yeah, say you like messed it up, right? So at this point you're kind of at the point where you need to make it go to the left and swing right like that, see? So swing left and swing right, and when it swings right, that's when you want to keep going. So the important thing is you want to swing wide enough so the shell goes to the left and it gives you time to swing to the right like that. So like that. So you only want to go when the shell swings to the right after it goes left. So like this. And if you do it where you bounce on the right side every time, it makes it significantly easier. So you might have to do some left rights, but you can see it's pretty free if you can manage to land all the right side bounces, and it's much easier. If you mess up with one bounce like that, it just becomes a hassle to set it back and get in the rhythm. But again, you do want to swing left and swing right and continue like that. The initial mount, boys. What was that fine block for? It's a secret. Ideally, you want the disco shell to swing Y so it gives you more time to maneuver around it. Jump once, the disco shell begins moving in the opposite direction. Dude, my throat is actually starting to hurt. Note the disco shell turns around faster when it bounces off a wall. Yeah, you can see it moves really fast when it bounces off a wall. Oh, if I can do this. Yeah, see? The moment I make it bounce off a wall, see that? See that little jitter? So this is where you need to manipulate the heights, or the range of the swing. So again, I want to go when the shell is the opposite direction of what direction I'm going. So I start going, it goes to the left. Like that. Try when the disco shell begins moving left. Oh, a smaller light be needed. Good news is if you're to the left, then you can retry. But I don't know, it's like you just gotta commit. That's all I can say. Because if you hold right and you miss it, you'll still be alive. And that's the multicultural shell level. That one's a rough one. That one's gonna body people as well. I shouldn't say that one. Every level's gonna body you. It's Kaizo. The Fishin Boo. Can you imagine? Imagine a world where I make you do Fishin Boo after multicultural shell. I give you the 2 hardest tricks in the game. Why do I call it disco? Because it takes up less space. Multicultural shell is a lot more letters. This all teaches you about manipulating Fishin Boos. Fishin Boo movement can be manipulated similar to disco shells. However, the Fishin Boo and its fire can turn around at different times. They both also move in an ellipse. So here they turn around at the same time. You see how when the flame flicks, it flicks with the Fishin Boo turn? So this is what I mean when they move at the same time. When they move at different times, Oh, well, change patterns, but basically the flame will like move before the Fishin Boo finishes turning around, and that's why the flame gets like a smaller range. So this one, it gets a pretty wideish range. Note the fire can sometimes flick in the opposite direction when the Fishin Boo turns around. Yeah, so this is what I mean. So you want this pattern. The Fishin Boo and the flame, they move as one. Here they don't really move as one. Well, now I start moving to one again. Oh my god, Fishin Boo, stop it. The Fishin Boo's max speed also varies since it catches up to you. Yeah, if you try to outrun it, it'll run with you. It'll catch up to you. So this is what I'm talking about with the Fishin Boo and the flame. They move around at different times. And that's kind of hard to see, but basically the flame's pretty much centered around Mario the entire time. The Fishin Boo has a wide range, but the flame doesn't. Here, the Fishin Boo and the flame are together. You can see that they move in the same direction. So just like with disco shells, start moving when the Fishin Boo swings towards the opposite direction. This is more lenient than disco shells. Note the fire cannot hurt you in this room. So yeah, it's like when you're trying to go underneath or over the top of the disco shell. So you can see, right? I'm free to jump when the Fishin Boo is going in the opposite direction. So think of the Fishin Boo as a very slow multicultural shell. See, it's moving back and forth pretty slow. So it gives you kind of time to react accordingly. Very slow multicultural shell. Only the top, don't worry about the flame. Pretend the Fishin Boo itself is a multicultural shell, because it doesn't really like flick. The flame flicks, but the multicultural, or the Fishin Boo doesn't. So you can treat the top part of him as that. But yeah, the flame is a different story. Alconian Lake during this entire stream, that's a hard one. So understanding how to get good and bad ellipses, is that how you say it, is the key to dodging the Fishin Boo's fire. So now we're bringing out the math here. A good ellipse is when the fire turns after the Fishin Boo changes direction. So this is a bad one. Let me read the bad one first, because this is a bad one. A bad ellipse is when the fire turns before the Fishin Boo. I should say like turn around, like swing around, because the fire's flicking towards the middle, but the Fishin Boo hasn't finished this like turnaround yet. So this gives a smaller range and more erratic fire movement. So yeah, see the range of the fire, it's much smaller. So these are the types of ellipses you want to avoid. And the good one is when the fire turns after the Fishin Boo changes direction. So we can do that by... So here we go. So as the Fishin Boo like starts to rotate in the other direction, the flame kind of goes with it. So it's kind of like after, but it's like at the same time. See how the range is much wider now? So this is the Fishin Boo ellipses you want. So you want to be able to determine which one you have. So for example, this is like a weird one. This is like a bad and a good one. So this is a good one. Now I'm trying to get a bad one. I can't get a bad one. Now here's a bad one. So you can see the flames turning around earlier. So to convert a bad ellipse into a good one, you generally want to swing out wider when making the Fishin Boo change direction, so it keeps the fire from turning around too early. So yeah, so if we can try to get a bad one again. my god, I can't even get a bad pattern. Oh, here we go. Here's a bad one. So make this into a good ellipses. I want to, let's say I'm going to the right side. So I want to go to the right when the Fishin Boo is moving towards the right, so like that. And I want to stop, because if you do it correctly, the Fishin Boo will continue going to that direction when you stop. If it doesn't and it turns around, then you still get a bad one. So again, this is a bad one. This is kind of a weird one. So again, if we're going to the right, you want to swing right and then stop, and it should convert itself. So this is a good one. Once you can determine the type of ellipses that the Fishin Boo gives you, which can change often, so you can see it's like changing constantly, it becomes easy to dodge the fire. So once you understand which type of ellipses you get, you can know when the flame's gonna flick. Because when you know the flame's gonna flick, you know where you need to be or where you don't need to be. Half the reason why you die to the flame is, well, because it has a janky ass hitbox, but also because it flicks when you don't expect it to. So again, here's a bad one, and we're gonna convert it into a good one. So now it's a good one. Oh, now it's a bad one again. So now it's a good one. So that's the key to the Fishin Boo. The fire can hurt you once you leave this platform. So this is a bad Fishin Boo pattern. So we have to convert it to a good one. We don't have to, but we can make it go to the left like that. So this is a good Fishin Boo pattern. It's swinging with the flame. It's a good pattern. Oh, that time I just jumped too early. You know, some logic. So generally, I like to swing wide. Okay, well that's too wide. I kept getting bad Fishin Boo patterns. See how I make the Fishin Boo turn around, or I make the Fishin Boo and the fire turn around at the same time, so that way I know when it flicks, I can go to the opposite direction. Dude, it's just like, it's really hard to explain as you do it, but yeah, the important thing is knowing when you get good and bad ellipses, so you know when it flicks and when it doesn't flick. The Fishin Boo does not always catch up to you immediately, so sometimes left rights are needed. So the one thing I forgot to mention is the Fishin Boo, it can move in like, I don't know what the proper mathematic term is, but it can go from top left to bottom right, or bottom left to top right. So it moves like this, so it moves like, you know, like that. But the Fishin Boo can also move in like an actual oval, where it starts in the top left, or it starts top, then moves like to the left, and then down, then to the right, and back up top. It doesn't go top left to bottom right. It doesn't touch the corners. And sometimes you need to do that to get a spin jump off of it. See how the Fishin Boo is lower to the bottom right? Sometimes you might need to manipulate its height so that you can get a spin jump off of it. Like, let's say that Fishin Boo was like 2 blocks higher, I would have to make it go to the bottom right to be able to reach it. So that's another thing you need to be cautious of. That one's not easily manipulable, but it's something you should be aware of. Alright, so here's assessment number 5. Yeah, the low ceilings, that one's hard. Like I said, it's gonna body you, but it's very important to understand the timings for that. It'll help you in the long run, I promise you. So movement influenced enemies, the disco shell, the Fishin Boo. So this one's gonna kill a lot of people. So yeah. We're gonna have to make a version 1.1 there. See, that's an example right there for the low ceiling, the low bounce, or you need a low high bounce. Otherwise, I was gonna hit the spikes. Yeah, no, I'm just saying it's gonna be hard at the beginning. So here's another example where if you get the consistent right bounces, you're in there like swimwear. So remember, you want to go to when it swings to the left. So boom, and this is one where if it goes to if you land on the left side at all, you're dead. All right, boys, we're on the Fishin Boo. See, I know when it's gonna flick, so that's when I know I can go forward. So that's a bad Fishin Boo pattern. So there we go, we convert to a good one, and now we continue onwards. So I want the Fishin Boo patterns to be good. That's good, that's bad. Oh, that's a bad one. Dang. It went bad. So that's a good pattern. That Erie's there to help you if you want to use it. You don't have to, but it's just there because I'm kind. Smile. So that's bad. This is a bad Fishin Boo pattern. We're going to convert it to a good one when we pass it. So here, we got to convert it, otherwise the flame's going to kill us. Well, you can also just go to the right. If you want the speedrun strat, you can just run right and get here immediately. So that's a good pattern. Oh, he could have killed me right there. Oh man, I'm bad. But yeah, if you really want to, you can just run right and do a speedrun strat, but it's up to you. Oh my god, I'm so bad at this game. I kept kicking it. Oh, that was it. Pog you.